Hello, and welcome to this not 3D tutorial. So, today we're going to be looking at this new logo that I made. So, I am starting a new brand called Polystation 2. I've actually been running it over on Tumblr for a while, and it's all about recreating things like low-poly PlayStation 2 graphics. And so I wanted to have a little branding thing, and part of it was recreating the boot-up sequence for the PlayStation 2 because I thought that'd be kind of cool. Put my own little logo in it. Blatantly steal from corporate marketing because it worked really well and people paid a lot of money for this logo. So I'm just gonna appropriate it, questionably legally, and use it for my own nostalgic purposes. So that was the way I decided to think about it. It was good thematically. It looks cool and I like it. So that's why I decided to use this logo. I was looking on YouTube for tutorials on how to make one, and I didn't find anything that I found passably acceptable. So I decided to step up to the plate and share my little quest to make this with the world. So you can also create your name or your brand or whatever you would like to look just like the PlayStation 2. If you want a PS2 to boot up to say gay butts, you have the power now, my friends. So I'm going to walk you through the steps step by step on how to do this. I'm using HitFilm Pro to do this, but I believe everything that I'm about to tell you is rather universal. I think if you're using something like Sony Vegas or After Effects or most other graphics packages should be able to do this too. However, you can download HitFilm for free. HitFilm Express. I don't know if all the effects I'm going to be using are available for free, but there you go. If you want a place to start to follow along, you don't have any money, you don't have anything set up, download HitFilm from hitfilm.com first, and come back when you're all ready to go and we can get started. So, the first thing we're going to need this font. This font is not installed by default on your computer. Now, I don't believe this is the actual PlayStation 2 font, but it is incredibly similar. I tried looking it up, and I'm sure if I Googled for more than 5 minutes, I probably could have found out exactly what the font was and probably would have paid a significant amount of money for it. But I'm cheap, and it's only going to be on the screen for 2 seconds, so most people aren't going to care. So if it's like 85% of the way there, that's fine with me. So we're going to go to defont.com. You're going to download the Zernik font. It's pretty cool, and it looks very much like the PlayStation 2 logo. My Googling people said this is what the font was. I don't think it's exactly this font, but it's very close. So you just go here, you download the font, and if you've never downloaded a font on Windows before, you just go to your downloads. Hopefully it's still here. If not, I'm in trouble because I didn't plan this part of the tutorial. I think I moved into my fonts folder actually. So let's go into my fonts folder. Scroll down here. So you just open up your font files. It's going to be called Zernik RG. You just double click it. Then you hit install. And it's going to install. I'm not going to hit install because I already did this. Let me close out all this. So once you have that, you're going to open up your editing program of choice. I'm going to close out of that. So I'm going to be using HitFilm. And the first thing you want to do here is you want to get the PlayStation logo as reference. I'm going to walk you through all the effects, so you don't technically need it to kind of be looking back and forth on how to mimic it, but just for timing purposes, if you want it to actually fade in and fade out at the exact same times as the original logo to give it that air of authenticity, I highly recommend downloading the logo boot off of YouTube. You just get a YouTube download like clipconverter.cc or KeepVid or something like that. Tons of enterprising individuals on the YouTubes have posted it in some form or other. Pick your favorite. I'm not going to judge you. So once you have that footage, you just load it into your video editor. If you're in HitFilm, you're going to want to make a composite shot by right-clicking on the footage and click Make Composite Shot, which it doesn't say here because this already is a composite shot. So we're going to go into our composite shot, and this is going to be our footage. And so what I did is I added a black background to simulate the black background of the actual PlayStation 2 logo, and then I added a text file. And I typed in the Zernik font, by changing it here in the menu, whatever I wanted the logo to be. So this is Polystation 2. I also did one for my buddy Hypocrite and changed it to Hypocrite. This is not going to need any graphics, so you can change the text at will. So if you want to shotgun a bunch of these, you can just save the work file, and you can just, if you ever want to make a new one, you just change the text, and everything will still work. It's great. Go on Fiverr, have a ball, make $5 a pop for 5 seconds of work. As a matter of fact, maybe I'm going to do that when I'm done with this video. So there's a couple effects that are going to make this work. So the first thing that I decided to do before anything else, I wanted to set my in and out points, because this effect is very quick. If we turn off this stuff and we just play back the original footage, you can see it takes not very long. So this is like, the whole transition is like maybe like an eighth of a second. It's not very long. So we don't have a lot to do. So, but you want to set your in and out points. So the first thing that I notice is that it fades from nothing into the logo. So I went to my text file here, and I went to transform, and then I set some keyframes at the in point, like the frame right before it starts appearing, and then the out point where it's fully formed, and then I keyed the opacity from 0 to 100%. So if I turn that off and turn all this back on, you can see with just the opacity, so far we have this. Not particularly inspiring. Let me turn the sound back on so you can kind of get the full effect. Not exactly blowing any minds right now, but we have a baseline to work with here. So if we go back to the footage and examine it again, the next thing that I decided to do, if my mouse can stop tweaking out, please and thank you. We go back here. There's a bit of a blur. There's some blurring going on. We got some like whooshy blurring kind of stuff. So the next thing I went and applied onto my actual version is I turned on just a regular blur effect. And I copied, if we open up the blur, I just copied the keyframes from the start and end here, and I keyed it from blurry, I set this one to 14 pixels, to not blurry. So it goes down to perfectly clear. So as it fades in, it also blurs and becomes solid. So if we watch it now, we have this. A little better, but lacks some of that pizzazz. You know what I mean? So a lot of the tutorials I saw just stopped here. And you know, I'm one of those guys who just likes to go the extra mile. So this really would have been effective enough. And if you're a basic bitch, you can just call it here and be done, my friends. The effect is people are gonna know what you're doing at this point. But I wanted to go further. So let's go back to the actual footage and see what we got going on. So we can look at this and we can see it blurs, but there's also a bit of like expansion. Like the shape starts bigger and condenses down. So we want to have the blur be larger than the final image. So what I did in addition to that is I turned on next a zoom blur. So I was toying with whether to have both of them, both of the blurs, or just the zoom blur. I like with keeping them both. They kind of stack on top of each other. So if we have a zoom blur, which kind of starts from making the shape bigger and zooming into smaller, we get an effect like this. So you can see the blur starts bigger and kind of condenses into the center. So now we're getting really close. Now we got something really nice going on here. But we can go further, because the secret sauce really of this entire effect is the way it kind of doesn't just blur and coalesce. There's like this weird swirling effect to it as well. It's like coalescing from like smoke almost. And it happens quick, but it's subtle, and your eye still notices it. And this was the most difficult part, my friends. How exactly was I going to replicate this? I tried the smoke, which didn't really work. There's like a smoke effect in HitFilm, but it like added smoke behind the text. It didn't like distort the text itself. But I eventually found something that helped me out in the weirdest of places, and that is pond ripples. So what pond ripples does by itself, I turn off all the other effects for a second, is it just, you know, it adds some ripples, like water ripples. So, pretty good. It distorts things, but by itself doesn't look that good. But if you put it in the stack behind the blurs, because HitFilm, the effects read down, so the first one goes into play first. So if I drag the pond ripple all the way to the bottom here and turn the blurs back on, it's going to look weird, because it's going to ripple the blurs. It looks odd. But what we do, we move the pond ripple up, so it's also blurred. And now, there we go. Now we're in business. Now it's warping, it's distorting, and it's kind of like blurring to unblurring and fading in. Yeah. But there's one more thing. This is the cherry on top of everything else. Is you've probably already noticed, like going through the footage slowly here, but there's a bit of blue. It's not just white. There's some blue kind of glow on here as well. So all we do for that, we go back in here again. We go into our final effect. We add a neon glow. And for the neon glow, we're just going to add 3 keyframes, not 2 like all the other ones. We're going to have it start at 1 glow, and then we're going to have it go down to 0. But I found the glow didn't last long enough. It just keyed straight from here to here. So I pushed another keyframe up here, so it kept the glow right until the last couple frames, then quickly faded out. And now, when you put all this together, we get our final effect. And it looks pretty good. So there you go. There's your PlayStation 2 logo. So brand yourself as a proud early 2000s gaming enthusiast. Rev up that emotion engine, and yeah, throw down some blue CDs and be cool. Because you did it. You did it. You're the best. That's it for now. If you want to check out my 3D models, I'm on Instagram at PolyStation2. I got some 3D animations here on this channel. And if you want to throw me $1 a month to get access to cool stuff and all these videos and tutorials early, check out my Patreon. And hopefully I haven't forgot to edit in. Here's all these great people that already support me on Patreon. So they're great. They make videos like this possible, and I love them a lot. So that's it. Go forth and brand yourself as a cult of PlayStation. The cows, as we called them back in the day. Now they're the Sony ponies. Be a proud Sony pony. Put that in your GameSpot forums bio. You can translate it into an animated GIF. Be a really cool guy. Do whatever. Just tell them that I sent you. Even though I technically didn't, because you're your own person. You're making your own choices. So, till later. Take it easy. And if I never hear from you again, thanks for watching. Have a good one.